Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We will continue our discussion about the different search agents. So, last session we discussed about the various types of search algorithms which fall under the category of problem solving agents. And in order to use them, we said that there are two basic types of search algorithms. One is the uninformed search, and the second is informed search. So in the uninformed search, we discussed about uh, the breadth first search, and today we will discuss another connected algorithm, that is the depth first search. So these two algorithms we will see in the uninformed search. The characteristic of the uninformed search is that they work only on the problem definition. That is, the problem is defined in problem solving agents in terms of state space. So your sort of network which is available to you. So we talked about the Romania problem. One person wants to travel from one place to another place. So this the number of places and how they are connected to each other in the physical sense, or in the abstract sense, the number of states that the problem has or the agent has, and how these states are connected to each other, that is called as a state space. And searching essentially means that you have to reach from initial state to the goal state, and how to do that is the purpose of the search algorithms. In the uninformed search, the algorithms work only with the problem definition. That means it knows only what are the number of states and how they are connected to each other, and what are the path costs from one state to another. So using only this information, the uninformed algorithms can function, and that is what we have seen. Now we'll continue our discussion about the uninformed search. So we already completed breadth first search. So in this algorithm, if this is your search tree, the searching sequence in this case is moving from the starting node to the subsequent nodes. So you move from here to here, then you go to the next level, and then you move to the further level. So that is how this sequence continues. In depth first search, as the name signifies, you move in the depth direction first. So you first travel from starting node to the end node, and then again you go back. So how this particular algorithm works and how it compares in terms of performance with breadth first, that we'll see in the initial part of this lecture. And in the later part, we will see the informed search. So informed search method, how they work, that is what we will see. So let's continue with uninformed search, the second type of uninformed search, which is known as depth first search. In this case, as I just said, as soon as you initiate your search, you get which nodes are connected to the initial state. So you will come to know that B and C are the initial states. The search queue is formed differently in the BFS search and in the DFS. DFS is the depth first search. In the depth first search, whatever explored nodes are there, they are put immediately at the beginning of the queue, as compared to the breadth first search or BFS search. In the BFS search, these nodes B and C, so initially is A. As soon as you explore what are the children of A, they are placed immediately uh, after. So as far as this state is concerned, both BFS and DFS are same, because at the first step it won't make any difference. In the next step, as soon as you start discovering the step B or the state B, you explore D and E. So in the BFS search, the queue would be A, which is explored, then B and C. So these are explored. So this is the queue. and these D and E were placed at the end of the queue. So that is the BFS search. So D and E are kept at the end of the search. In in the DFS search, the A is gone. B, we are currently at this stage. So as soon as D and E are explored, they are placed immediately at the beginning of the queue, and C is pushed back. So which means that now you are going to explore D and E first before you reach into C direction. Once you reach D, you will find nodes H and I, which will be inserted immediately after the A. So A is gone, B is gone, D is gone, and the new search H and I, they are inserted at the beginning. So the E and C, which were remaining, they are pushed back. So E and C, which are pushed back, are put at the end of the queue. Yeah, Pranay, you want to ask something? So to understand the difference, that in the BFS search, it is the first in, first out, or FIFO type of situation. So the C has arrived first, so it will be addressed before the later one. So D and E are the one arriving later, so they are addressed at later stage. The one who has entered first, the C has entered before D and E, so they are explored first, or they are examined first. Whereas in the DFS search, so the right hand side is DFS, which we are discussing. That is known as last in, first out, or LIFO search. So in this case, the D and E, which are entering the last, they are examined first. So D is examined first. As soon as D is examined, H and I are discovered. So they are given the first priority before the one who had come previously. So those who are standing in the queue, they are pushed further backward, and the newcomers are given the first preference. So in this sense, you can see that the sequence becomes from A to B to D. So the sequence will become till the time you reach the leaf node. So this is known as leaf node. So till the time you reach the leaf node, you will continue the search. And after that, in the queue, whatever is there. So in this case, I is the next item. So I will cover I. So what you are doing here is that you are going to every explored node, checking whether it meets your goal condition. If it meets goal condition, then you have searched whatever goal you wanted to reach. Otherwise, you'll keep on uh, exploring the state space till you find your goal state. So that is the DFS search. As the name suggests, you are going full depth first before going into the backward or the previous depth levels. So at the beginning itself, you try to reach at the bottommost point of your tree before exploring the breadth or the width of any depth level. And the BFS, as significantly different from this, it first explores the entire depth, width of your search tree at any level before going to deeper levels. So the next few slides will just exemplify what we talked now. So as we have seen, the queue here is only A at the beginning. As you explore A, you get B and C, which are pushed immediately after A. Now you will be exploring B. So you will discover D and E. So D and E will be pushed before C. So that is to be remembered, and that we'll see now. So here you will see that this D and E, they are pushed before C, which was already previously present. So the C is pushed back, and the D and E are put or inserted before the previous ones. So after this, we'll explore D. So we'll get H and I. So H and I will be pushed before E. So before you start exploring horizontally, you will go in the further level. So you'll see that after D, H and I, which are the new comers, they are inserted immediately at the beginning. So in this way, this particular search proceeds. So next, I will be explored. After that, in the queue, E is there. So as soon as E is explored, J and K will come in picture. They will be inserted before C. So in a sense, the C which was discovered at the very first level is pushed backward till the time you complete all the depths previous to the C node. So this process will continue. So you will find that the J and K, they are pushed and discovered first, and so on. So you continue doing this, and the sequence proceed in this particular manner. So you can see the slides offline and see how this sequence can be developed. In fact, this week's tutorial or next week's tutorial will write a program, a simple program, which will trace the path traversed by both BFS and DFS. So we'll write a code in which you given a state space, how these both algorithms function, that you will find out, or you will write a code to do that yourself. And you will also learn how to input the state space, that is this kind of graph network, how to input to program in order to process it. That is another learning in that exercise. Okay, there is one point to be noted here, which is there in the next slide, is that the nodes which are previously explored. So we, in the last class, we talked about two type of searches. One is tree search and another is graph search. So in the tree search, you are not keeping track of which nodes are explored. In the graph search, you are keeping track of nodes which are explored. So track explored nodes. The idea is that the explored nodes, you don't want to get caught in the loop. So if you already explored A, and because of some connection, if this connection was there and there is a loop in this state space, so you again discover, go back to A and keep on circling in this track. To break that particular thing, you keep track of which nodes are explored, and that prevents some of the redundant path and loops in the circuit. So that is advantage of graph search. However, it also has got some lacunae. That's why the tree search algorithm is existing. In the tree search algorithm, you don't track the what are the explored things. The main advantage in the tree search is the space. You don't have to store the explored nodes till the time means you need to store only those explored nodes which are, you need to store only those nodes which may be encountered in the future. So for example, C needs to be stored because that is the one which is yet to be explored, so that needs to be stored. Rest all nodes can be removed. So in the depth first search, if you are using tree search in which you are not keeping explored nodes, once you are reached to the leaf node, all the previous nodes whose children are explored, they can be deleted. So here the black circle nodes, they can be removed from the memory because there is no chance you have gone to the full depth. So there is no chance that each of these black nodes will ever be needed in your subsequent searches. So the remaining part of the tree would never need will never encounter the information about the other nodes. So that gives a big advantage if you are using tree search in DFS method, that is in the depth first search method. When you are comparing with respect to BFS, the space requirement becomes very small. We will see in immediately next slide how much is the advantage, and you get a very great advantage in terms of space because you are able to eliminate some of the storage which needs to be kept in the case of BFS, whereas it can be removed in the case of DFS search. Okay, so if you look at the criteria that we use for evaluating the algorithms, so whether this DFS algorithm, whether it's complete, so it is not complete in the sense if you have infinite state space, that is a state space which has no end. So if it keeps on growing larger and larger, so in this case, obviously, since the first track itself will try tracing till the end, and since there is no end to this state space, you will never able to explore the remaining part of the tree. Whereas remember that BFS doesn't have this restriction. In BFS, you are moving level by level. So you are checking each level. So if the goal, even the tree may be infinite, but the goal can always be found. So that in that sense, the BFS search is complete. But the DFS search is not complete in the case of infinite depth situations. If it is a finite space, then DFS and BFS, they are equal. They both will find the solution. Time wise, the order of time complexity is b to power m. So just to recap what is b, m and d. So in a state space, the number of b is the branching factor. That is how many branches are coming from each of the node in your state space. So that is b. So in this case, b equal to 2. The m is the longest path that is available in your search space. So m is the longest, and the d, if d is the depth or the length of your goal. So if this is a goal state, what is the depth of that goal step is d, and m is what is the depth of the longest path in your system. So here the order of complexity, time complexity, is b to the power m. So which is again similar in the case of BFS, it was b to the power d. So time wise, this particular DFS can be more expensive as compared to BFS if m is much larger than d. So this is in case of DFS. In case of BFS, it is b to the power d. So if m is very long, very large than d, then you will have means this algorithm will be costly. Space wise, as I said, because you can discard part of a big part of the tree as soon as you start exploring and reach to the leaf nodes, the space requirement turns out to be only of the order of b multiplied by m. That is a branching factor multiplied by the longest depth of your search. So this is very different as compared to the order. In BFS, the same space complexity is of the order b to the power d. So which we have seen that for 10 branching factor and 12 as the depth, it reaches, and assuming 1 kilobyte space, it requires 1 petabyte or 10 to power 15 storage space would be required to store that particular case. Whereas in this case, the requirement is extremely low because you are able to discard much of the information from the tree as soon as you start tracing, hitting the bottom of the tree. So some of the nodes can be eliminated at that particular stage. So if you are, but remember that that is only in tree search. If you are using graph search where you are keeping history of the explored nodes, anyway you have to store the full tree because whatever is not there in your queue will be there in your explored set. So adding them together, it will make the full set. So which is b to the power d. So space-wise advantage is there in DFS if you use tree search algorithm. That is not store the explored states, and that is where the advantages of DFS comes. So as far as other things are concerned, it is almost matches similar to that of the BFS search. Another thing regarding the optimality condition is that BFS, if you remember, it is optimal. Why BFS is optimal is can be explained in this way. So in the BFS search, you are always uh, traveling breadth first. So if you are, for example, if your goal is available at this particular depth, let's say your problem has got multiple goal states. That is there are multiple goal states which make satisfy the requirement. That is, if you need to reach, for example, the Romanian example, you have to reach either Bucharest or you have to reach some other place, XYZ place. So both are satisfying your requirement. From both, you can catch flight to your home. If that is the situation, and one of the goal state resides at higher level and another goal state resides at lower level, so both of these are goal states. In case of BFS, you will always find a solution which is, because you are going breadthwise, you will always find the closest solution, the one which is less deep first. So this is the optimal solution as compared to the other state, because there you are going to take longer time to reach there. So in BFS, you will always find the optimal solution first. The lower depth solution you will able to find first, which will be lower cost solution, lower path cost solution. Whereas in the DFAs, as you can see, if your acceptable goal state are more than one, and one of the state lies on the left of this tree at the bottommost point, obviously because you're traversing depth first, you will discover this first, and that will be your solution because you have reached the goal state. But this goal state is not optimal. That is, it is not having the minimum depth solution. That is, it is the solution. It satisfies your requirement, but is that is not the best solution. So that is how the optimality condition is no in situations where there are multiple number of goals. If there is only one single goal is there, then obviously both will find that solution, and that is the only optimal solution which is available. But out of multiple solutions, the BFS will always find the best solution, whereas DFS will not be able to find the best solution. Okay, so if you compare the DFS versus BFS, already we have discussed. So this is just summarizing that. So DFS goes first in one branch till it reaches leaf node. That is the nature of this code. So as we said that it is not good if the goal is on another branch. So if the goal states are more than one, and you will always you may reach the costlier goal before than the optimal goal. So that is what it means, that it is not optimal. It uses much less space than BFS. That is because you are able to discard some of the trees. So again, remember that this is only with tree search and not with graph search algorithm. So if you want to take advantage of DFS and your problem has got suitable nature, then you can use the tree search and DFS, and you can get lot of advantage in terms of space. Okay. Whereas the advantage of BFS is main advantage in terms of its optimality condition. So it will provide you the optimal solution. So the lowest depth solution or lowest path cost solution will be available to you through the uh, DFS, and it is complete even for infinite trees. So for infinite depth trees, the DFS search will not be able to complete. That is, it will not be able to find the solution at all. Whereas BFS, even with the infinite depth tree, will always find a solution. If the solution exists, it will always find it. Uh, okay, and BFS, the downside is it's memory intensive, and this downside is if you are using graph search, the BFS and DFS are same. The memory requirement only gets relaxed or hugely relaxed if you are using the tree search algorithm. Yeah, so that is our discussion on the uninformed search. So after this, we are going to shift to the informed search algorithms. So before you do that, if you just take a breath, and if you have any questions or immediate doubts, you can ask. Okay, so let's proceed with the informed search. We will maybe you will get more understanding when you are actually writing the code and play with that code to understand how the two algorithm work for different nature of problems. Okay, so before we enter into the informed search, just a cursory look at some other uninformed search methods. So the depth limited search is a specific or specialized variation of DFS. So in DFS, you are reaching up to the leaf node. So whatever is the depth of the tree, you are going up to that limit. In the depth limited search, you have a limit of up to which you will travel the depth. So that is the thing to be remembered. So it gives you advantage. Of course, how to decide that depth, it depends on the experience. So you can read this slide and in the sense that is the only point which you need to remember in terms of depth limited search. Just to give you an idea as what are the other options which are available to you. One more option which is available to you is known as uniform cost search. In the uniform cost search, you are using information, but that is a part of definition. So you are taking information as to what is the path cost. So till now, the algorithms that we discussed, they were not worried about how much is the distance between this node and this node. So let's say this distance is A, this distance is B, this is C, D, E, F. So these distances, they are known as path cost. So in the geographic problem like a Romania problem, they mean the path cost is real path cost. That is the distance to be traveled from one point to other point. In another set of problems, they need not be the spatial distance. They can be some kind of cost. So it may be fuel consumed or the amount of energy consumed for reaching from one state to another state. So these are known as path cost. So in BFS or DFS, the queue ordering. So essentially, how these algorithms are differing from each other is in a way how this queue is formed, how the sequence in which the tree is explored. That queue is different in BFS, and that is it is FIFO in DFS, BFS, and it is LIFO in DFS. In case of uniform cost search, the sequencing is done in terms of the path cost. So the one with the lowest cost is selected first for exploration. So as soon as you start with the starting node, you will get two children nodes. So the sequence will be formed. So let me call this as capital A, capital B, and capital C. So you'll have A, and then you have B and C to be put in the queue. Now, whether B will come first or C will come first will be decided based on whether the path cost is smaller for B or cost is smaller for C. So depending on whichever is having less cost, path cost from A to that state would be taken first. So in this case, the C, let's assuming that C is closer. So in that case, C will come first and B will follow it. When you reach to the next step, you have the D and E as the states. So, so you have done with B, and you are now starting with C. So C is gone, and you have D and E. So you compare between B, D, and E, which are your frontier nodes, whichever is having lower cost. So again, you sort between B, D, and E, and whichever is lower will be taken first. So if E is the smallest one, you will have the new sequence, which will be E in whatever sequence the path cost is decreasing. So if assuming B is having the highest cost, so B will be pushed back. So this sequence is decided based on path cost. So in this way, the queue will be dynamic, more dynamic in the case of the uniform cost search, and that is how it will do. The characteristic of this are similar to that of BFS. So the order of the time and space complexity is of the same order. It is it is similar to BFS. In fact, if all step costs are equal, that is all costs are unity, then uniform cost search is nothing but the BFS search. So that is to be noted. So the characteristics are similar to that of BFS. Okay, so this is the discussion for the uninformed search. Now let's move to the informed search. So in the informed search, you use some information which is not defined in the problem. So you require some expert or some knowledge which is not there in the problem. So taking example of the Romania problem, that is you are in a particular city and you want to reach another city, and there are some road network which is available. The entire road map is available to you, how you can reach from one city to another city. So this is the city of Arad and this is city of Bucharest, and there are some intermediate cities through which you can reach there. Now, in the problem definition, the path cost or the distance between various cities is available. For example, this is 10, this is 20, 30, 40, whatever. So these path costs are available, and using this information, whatever can be done has been explored by the uninformed search technique that we discussed till now. Now, in order to select which node is better, if you have some additional information, that is what will be leveraged in the informed search method. So in the informed search method, you require some additional information, and that additional information is termed as the heuristic term. So the heuristic meaning is it's in common words, it is rule of thumb. So what could be the rule of thumb is that okay, we know all the road lengths from one city to another city, but somebody looks at this particular map, uh, he or she can observe that this particular Bucharest is closer to from another city. So if you let's see the actual map. So if you look at the actual map, the Bucharest is here. Okay, I'm not able to write onto this. So the Bucharest, as you can see, is okay. I will not be able to point here, I think. Okay, so Bucharest is on the lower bottom side and Arad is on the left hand side. So the Bucharest is farther from Arad than from the Nimet. So Nimet is the solution which is city which is there. I think this will not do. I think I have the map somewhere. Yeah. So we are talking about Bucharest. So the heuristic or the additional information that the knowledgeable person or expert can provide you is that Bucharest is farther than Arad as compared to Nimet. So that is an additional information. So this is not based on the road length. So it is based on the straight line distance. So you can say that if you join from Arad to Bucharest by a straight line, that distance is shorter as compared to if you that distance is longer if you compare that with the straight line distance from another city, Nimes to Bucharest. So in that sense, this gives you an additional information. So this is not actual distance between the two cities. It is a sort of flight distance. So if you are traveling by aeroplane, which from which city you are closest to your goal, so that a sort of information you are getting. So since you are going to travel by road, the distance of distance straight line distance or the aeroplane distance, they are not relevant to you, but at the same time they are important. They can be utilized for estimating how to go, which place to go before you have to decide between the two states. So you decide to go to a state which is closer in a flight distance than the other state. So that kind of information is known as the the informed search, the informed adjective stands for this kind of information. It is also called as a heuristic information, and these searches are also called as heuristic searches. And heuristic term, as I indicated, are the rule of thumb type of information, which a person who is acquainted with this particular environment or situation would know that okay, so out of the various states that this agent can take, some states are favorable or some states are better to reach your goal than the other states. That basis for that giving uh, favoring a particular state more than the other state can be different, and that is the experience of that person from that you will get. So in this case, as we said, the straight line distance between the cities can act as a heuristic, or that can act as an additional information. If that information is available to you, then you can tackle this particular problem in a better way. So we'll see how it helps and how it can be done. Okay, so we talked about the informed search, and informed search requires an information which is called as a heuristic information, or simply it's called as a heuristic. So it is again same thing is getting repeated here. So the idea is use this heuristic or the additional information to identify more promising paths. So we in the last discussion in the uninformed search, in BFS or DFS, the sequence was getting decided by algorithm. So there was no favoritism there. In the path uniform cost search, at least you had some flavor of what we are doing here. So in that case, we were favoring those states or those states which are having lesser path cost. So that is information, but that information is built in the problem. So that is why it is classified as uninformed search. Whereas in this case, we are using some information which is not part of your problem. So this information is sort of estimation. It may be wrong also. So that you have to keep in mind that the heuristic need not be give you the best answer. If the heuristic quality is bad, your solution quality also will be bad. You may not be able to find solution at all if your heuristic is something which is not relevant to your particular problem. So obviously the selection of heuristic, which we are going to see in the last part of this session, is the critical part. So, how good your heuristic will decide how effective your informed search would be. So, the searching or selecting the heuristic is the key component of this type of searches. So, that is the second point. So, it can be misleading in certain situations. In general, if the heuristic is carefully selected, that is what people will obviously strive to do, you will get the performance which is better. That is, you will require your time complexity and space complexity will reduce, and you will in general will find um, optimal solution. A family of informed search techniques are known as best first search. So in our session we'll be focusing on this best first search only. So as this name suggests, we are selecting which node out of the given options, out of the explored nodes or out of the queue which is in front of us. In that queue, which nodes or which states are best. You decide that first and promote that state to the top of the queue and start exploring that node. That will give you, once you explore that particular best node, or estimated best node, it is not the best node, you will get new set of nodes. Again you apply your heuristic information and order your new queue using your heuristic. So that is how the best search techniques, best first search techniques work. So it is essentially you are deciding sequence of searching from your frontier. Frontier is your front line, that is the nodes which are there in the queue. Which of the queue is to be taken first will be decided by the best first techniques. So In order to do that, or in order to quantify this particular algorithms, we use what is known as evaluation function. So evaluation function is nothing but the number which is assigned to each of the state, and the state which is having the least evaluation function would be taken first. So that is the best in the queue. So I'll repeat once again. In order to decide which is the best, which is the best state out of the queue to be tackled first, will be decided by based on evaluation function, which is calculated for each of the state. So each of the state you calculate the evaluation function. Whichever state is having the lowest evaluation function, that state would be taken first for the exploration. So in that way, the sequence of the search will proceed. Depending on what are the different types of evaluation function, you have different types of best first search algorithms. So we are looking here into two such algorithm, best first algorithm. The first one is known as greedy best search algorithm. It utilizes one type of evaluation function, and then A star search, which utilizes another type of best first search, another type of evaluation function. Okay, so here we are with the map of Romania, and the heuristic which is selected here is, as I discussed earlier, is the straight line distance between the cities starting from up to Bucharest. So taking Bucharest as the central point or pivot, what is the distance between all the cities till Bucharest are listed in the heuristic table, or the information, additional information is available to you to solve this particular problem. So in this case, from Bucharest to Bucharest, the distance is 0, and Arad is at 366 kilometers, and so on. So all the cities, the distances are mentioned in this particular table. So you know, with respect to Bucharest, how each of the city is located. And criteria that we are going to use is that whichever state, uh, okay, this is a heuristic. We are not yet come to evaluation function. So we will come to evaluation function later. So heuristic, or the additional information using which you will formulate your evaluation function, is this. So the heuristic, or the additional information available to you, is the straight line distance between various cities. And the thinking or the logic behind this is that the cities which are closer to Bucharest, you should try to reach them first rather than reaching two cities which are farther from the Bucharest. So when you are given a choice that there are two cities, A and B, which city to choose? So you use this heuristic information, find out between city A and city B, which city is closer in the flight path or in the straight line distance from Bucharest, and whichever is closer, you select that. On the road, it may not be closest, but that is just a rule of thumb that you are using. That the city which is closer in spatial distance may be closer in the road distance as well. So it may or may not be true, but that is the heuristic that we are using as an example for this particular problem. Okay, so having selected the heuristic, you have to formulate our evaluation function in terms of this heuristic function. So the simplest evaluation function would be use the heuristic value itself as your evaluation function. So that means if I call the distance between Bucharest and various cities, you will get some number which are listed in this particular table. So this itself is your evaluation function. So whichever city is closest, that becomes your first choice. So that becomes the best choice out of the given options. As we'll see later, it will lead us to some kind of problems, and the algorithm which is based on the heuristic function itself as the evaluation function is known as greedy best search. So it is a greedy search because it doesn't look here and there. It only looks at whichever is closest and jumps whichever is likely to be closest, and simply jumps to that state as its first option in order to search. It may lead to some problem which we'll see now. So let's discuss this. So this is a greedy based first search algorithm. So in this case, the evaluation function fn is the heuristic function. So n is the cost from the nth goal. That is, if you are in the city of Arad, so n will be equal to Arad, and heuristic for Arad will be straight line distance between Arad and Bucharest. So in the sense, every state the information is available to us. So this is what is written here. So the straight line distance is assumed that it will work for this problem, and it is a good heuristic. It is not nothing bad about it. So it is good. And the greedy search, because it uses this heuristic, the greedy adjective is coming because it doesn't think of anything else. We are going to see another A star algorithm which is improvement over this algorithm. It doesn't jumps directly to whichever is closest. It does some other additional checking which gives its more balanced approach, or it is less greedy. So in the greedy search option, you are in the city of Arad, and you are having three options, the three cities which can be traveled from Arad. So from Arad, you can go to Timisoara, CBU, and Zerin. So these are the three cities which are available to you. So for these three cities, you find out what is the heuristic, or what is the straight line distance from Cebu to Bucharest, which is 253. Timisoara to Bucharest, it is 329, and Zerin to Bucharest is 374. From where I'm getting this information? I'm getting it from the table which we saw here. So there is a table which gives us that from Arad to Bucharest is 366, and so on. For every city, the distance is given. So the on this particular map, I have written the heuristic function values, which are the evaluation function values. So out of these three options, I will select that city or that state which is having the least heuristic. So in this case, you will find that out of 253, 329, and 374, 253 is shortest. So I will decide that I will go to from Arad to CBU first. So that is my first choice. Now once I come to our CBU, I will have another options, and for each option there will be another heuristic would be there. So from these heuristics, I will select whichever is lowest, and I will go to that state. So that is what is shown in the next slide. So once you have reached to Cebu, you have states. Okay, point to be noted here that Cebu is again connected back to Arad as well. So you will find that Arad is also mentioned, because in some kind of circular loop type of state spaces, it may be possible that going back may be useful in certain situations. Okay, anyway, in this case it will not, it will get automatically eliminated. Okay, so for every each of the nodes, including the its parent node, we are exploring and finding out what are the what are the heuristic cost or the evaluation function cost. So that is 176, 366, 380, 193. So now your frontier consists of not only these new states, but also the previously they were queue in Timisoara and Zerin, they were also in the queue. So your queue now consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 states which are competing with each other. So out of these 6, you find out whichever is the least. So if you look at the different numbers, you will find that the Fagaras has got the lowest value of 176. So you decide that you will explore Fagaras in the next step. Had it been Timisoara been smallest, you would have explored the Timisoara. So in this case, there is no consideration for depth or breadth. You are simply going whichever is having lowest path in your frontier front line. So those nodes are selected first. So you will select Fagaras first. Now, after Fagaras, you will get that there is a Bucharest itself, which is having zero heuristic cost or zero evaluation cost. So that others obviously are smaller than that. But you need to check all the others also in order to do this particular evaluation. So in this sense, you got the path as from Arat to Cebu, from Cebu to Fagaras, and Fagaras to Bucharest. So this is the search path as given by this particular algorithm. So that is how this particular algorithm works. Now let's look at some of the aspects of this particular algorithm. One particular aspect which is not evident in the first look is that it is not complete. So it can get stuck in a sort of loop. So we will go back to the entire map. So here, let's say that you are starting from a state of Lasi. So this is your starting node, and you want to reach Bucharest. So that is your requirement. So you want to reach Bucharest from here. So if you use the greedy search, what will happen is you will look at the cost of the various cities with respect to Bucharest. Sorry, you don't want to reach Bucharest. You want to reach the city of Ordia. So this is a start and this is your goal. So if you want to reach this particular goal and use the same straight line distance algorithm, of course this algorithm is for Bucharest, so it will not be applicable for Ordia, but you can visually see which is closest. So what will happen if you start from here? You have two choices available. One is the city of Nimat and another is city of Vasiu. So these are the two states out of which you have to choose one of the states. So obviously, if you see the straight line distance, the city of Nimat is closer than the city of Vasi. So you will decide that as per your heuristic, you need to go the city of Nimat. As soon as you reach city of Nimat, you find that this is a leaf node, so you can't do anything. So you need to turn back. So you'll go back and come back to Lasi. Now you come back to Lasi, and if you apply the heuristic again, you will find that out of Vasiu and Nimat, only Nimat is possible. So you again go back to Nimat, and you will be in the loop in this particular case. So this kind of situation will happen, which makes this particular algorithm as not complete. So it can get stuck in the loop, and this particular problem can be overcome in the A star algorithm that we are going to see immediately next. So this is one shortcoming of this particular algorithm which needs to be addressed. Time wise and space wise, it has order which is similar to that of the earlier algorithms that we have seen. It means there is a proof part I have not gone through, but as per the textbook, this particular algorithm would not give optimal solution. So optimality condition is not guaranteed by this particular algorithm. So greedy best first search, it is the simplest one. The heuristic function itself is a utility function. However, it has some shortcomings as we have seen here. In order to overcome these shortcomings, you have to make our evaluation function somewhat stronger, which takes care of not only what is the heuristic, but something in addition to that. So the A star search does this particular thing. So in this case, the evaluation function, which will be used to decide which is the first or which is the best state out of your frontline nodes or the queue nodes, you will use heuristic function and you will add to that the path cost. So Jn is the path cost, that is the actual road distances between the various cities. Rather, the path cost is the total path cost. So it is not the distance between two cities. In order to reach that particular state, how much path you will have to travel. So that entire cumulative path cost is calculated, and then the heuristic is added to this particular situation. So since you are adding the path cost, the loop condition which we encountered in greedy search can be eliminated. I'll just explain it here. That is, we are at Nimat, and you were having a loop between these two cities in order to reach another path. So you're not able to reach the further path because of the heuristic function. What will happen is that this path cost for every move that you are making, for once you move from this Nimat city to another city, you will get some x cost corresponding to that path. When you come back, the total cost, so initially it is x plus whatever is heuristic. Once you travel back, it will be 2x plus h. When you move again back, it will be 3x plus h, and so on. So this particular evaluation function for this path will keep on increasing, whereas for the other path, since you have never traveled here, it will remain the same. So at one point of time, this cost will exceed the other path and you will break the loop. So in that point, you will come to the other path. So that is how this particular A star search gives you advantage over the greedy search path. So to the essence of this particular search is, it is including the path cost in its evaluation in addition to the heuristic cost. So let's see what effect it has once you start applying it to our same Romania problem. So here we are at the city of Arad. So since here city of Arad, the path cost is 0. So this is path cost, and the heuristic cost is 366. So this is heuristic cost. So we are calling this as G and this as H. So G is 0 and H is 366. So total cost or the evaluation function is 366. Now you will have branching, and for every branch we will calculate this evaluation function, which is path cost plus the evaluation plus the heuristic cost. So let's move to next slide. So in the next slide, we are getting for the city of Sibiu, the path cost is 140. So this is the path cost, that is the distance between Arad to Sibiu is 140. So that is coming from here. So from city of Arad to Sibiu, the distance is 140. So that is at the center of screen, you can see this particular thing. And the heuristic cost as given by the table which is beside this map is 253. So the total cost is 393. The evaluation function is 393. Similarly for Timosura, the path cost is this much, and heuristic is another number. So you calculate the evaluation. So out of these three evaluation functions, you will find that CBU has got lowest evaluation function. So that is what will be expanded next. So once you expand the CBU, so for example, I will take the Fagaras. So for Fagaras, in order to reach Fagaras, so this particular cost G is now from Arad to Cebu, and from there to Fagaras. So how much is this total cost is given here. So this is the total cost of reaching Fagaras from your starting state, that plus the heuristic cost. So this is the heuristic cost. So if you add them together, you will get total cost, which is 415. Similarly, you are calculating it for other parts. You will find that out of all the Q nodes, the lowest one is coming for the city which is mentioned here. So it is 413, which is lowest for the city of Remu, some Remu RV, I will call it RV. So city of RV, the cost is lowest. So we'll next expand this particular state. So in this way, you will calculate the evaluation function at every time and find out which is the lowest, and you will progress in this particular manner in order to reach your goal state. So that is the that is how this A star algorithm works. So remember that your frontier will keep on increasing. So in this case, the frontier, the frontline nodes, you have to consider all of them, not only the immediately expanded node, but out of all the evaluation functions for each of the frontline nodes, you have to calculate the evaluating function. Whichever is lowest, that will get priority. So this queue will keep on changing at every time. And in this sense, this particular search will keep on progressing. So in this particular case, the path comes from Arad to Sibiu, from there to RV, from there to another city, and from there to Bucharest. So that is what is being shown here. Okay, so finally, we will discuss about how, since we have understood that heuristic is something very important in order to do this solve inform search problems. So how to select a heuristic? So one way of by relaxing the problem. So when I'm considering flight path or straight line distance, what I'm doing is essentially I'm removing the restriction that I have to travel only by road. So I'm removing that restriction. I'm considering that I can take a flight. So in that case, I'm just measuring the distance between the cities in terms of the flight distances or straight line distances. So that is one way of visualizing some of the problems that could be a problem. So you can relax some of the constraints which are existing, which are fundamentally which constitute the problem. You relax them, and some heuristic may and some information may be available as a result of that relaxation, which you can use as a heuristic. So that is what this statement say. Another way is by experience. So somebody who has stayed in Romania for a long time, they can provide you some information. So for example, other than straight line distance, another thing which one can talk about is in the city of Arad, people. So take an example of Mumbai and Surat. So you have to reach from Mumbai to Surat. So in Mumbai, the population, the percentage of population speaking Marathi and percentage of people speaking Marathi in Surat, they are different. So you can keep the heuristic as number of people who are speaking Marathi as your heuristic function. So as this function becomes smaller, you are reaching your goal. So as the number of people speaking in for every city in between, you calculate number of people who speak Marathi. As that number decreases, you assume as a rule of thumb that you are approaching Surat. It may or may not be true depending on what path you are taking, but that is a sort of heuristic based on experience. So this knowledge cannot come from mathematics or looking at the map. How so long you look at the map, this insight will not come unless you talk to somebody who can give you this information that there are people speak different language in Surat and they speak different language in Mumbai. So that kind of insight will help tremendously in order to formulate the heuristic function. Okay, so that is the end of today's session. So what we have seen, just to summarize, that we have seen concluded our discussion on the uninformed search, and we also discussed two types of informed search, which are based on some information which is gathered as approximate or rule of thumb basis, known as a heuristic. And using this information, you can formulate evaluation function. And based on type of evaluation function, we have seen greedy based search and A star search as the two algorithms. And seen how they function. So I will just give some practice problems in order to understand these algorithms in better way. And for understanding BFS and DFS in more deeper manner, we will write a code as a part of our assignment next week. So if anybody has any questions, we will stop here. It may be a bit fast for most of you who are listening it for the first time. So take your time and you can ask your questions later on. Some of you who have taken this course earlier, that is AI course earlier, might be familiar. So they may be in the position to ask questions. Or we will stop here. Okay, so we'll stop here for today.